Amazing transformation, pregnant wife left in rain by millionaire husband reveals hidden strength. Sarah stood on the driveway, rain pouring down like a cascade from the heavens, mixing with her tears. The night felt almost unreal. Her husband, Mark, had just walked away, leaving her with a swirl of disbelief and heartbreak. This wasn't the life she had dreamed of. The perfect house with its white picket fence. Sure. The community block parties and smiles from the neighbors? Absolutely. But Mark, the ambitious millionaire, was consumed by a pursuit that left her standing alone in the storm. Thunder rumbled, matching the turmoil inside her. He chose this, she thought bitterly, awash in waves of vulnerability. As lightning cut through the dark sky, Sarah felt the weight of societal expectations pressing down on her like the rain. She was supposed to be grateful, she was supposed to celebrate a life of comfort. But at that moment, all she felt was rejection. In a flash, she realized love would never be about the money, and she was left grappling with the hollowness that filled their supposedly picture-perfect life. As she stood there, drenched and shivering, her heart beat like a heavy drum. But something stirred within her, a small flicker of resilience. Maybe this storm was the beginning of a transformation she didn't know she needed. Loneliness turned into courage as she wiped away her tears. Perhaps standing alone wouldn't equate to being alone forever. In the following days, Sarah found herself wandering around the neighborhood, joining in community barbecues and potlucks. Here, she discovered the heart of America's spirit. Neighbors pulled together, offering their help with genuine smiles and warm food. In shared laughter, she found unexpected solace, realizing her independence existed beyond the shadow of Mark's ambition. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who is on the other side of the screen. Now let us continue. Sarah began cracking open the dreams she had buried beneath Mark's overwhelming achievements. She enrolled in a community art class, where her natural talent began to emerge in bright strokes and bold colors. The feeling of paint gliding across canvas ignited a spark she had long thought extinguished. With each palette of colors, she felt more alive. The deeper struggles of motherhood ahead seemed less daunting, as hope crept in where heartbreak once thrived. Just as she started to embrace her newfound identity, Mark showed up, drenched in rain and an apology. His haunted eyes searched for hers, filled with regret and a longing for forgiveness. Caught in the moment, she stood at a crossroads, gripping her heart as clashing emotions roared in her mind. Could she believe in him again? Had she finally found the strength to break free, or would she cling to familiar chains, hoping for the love they once shared? The air buzzed with uncertainty, thick with unresolved feelings as the storm raged on overhead. With the weight of choices bearing down upon her, Sarah knew that whatever path she chose would define not just her future, but the family they once dreamed of building together. The rain finally began to ease, dripping softly from the branches above, but Sarah felt anything but calm. Mark's presence was a jolt to her system, electricity crackling in the air between them. The man she had loved, who had once promised the world to her, stood before her now, bare and vulnerable, yet still so far away. "Sarah," he whispered, voice cracking under the weight of his shame. "I'm so sorry. I wasn't thinking. I got lost in everything in the chase of success. I forgot what really mattered." "Did you really forget?" she asked, heart racing. Her voice trembled but held a resolve that surprised even her. "Or did you just choose to ignore it?" Mark flinched at the sharpness of her words, eyes cast down, like the defeated warrior he had become. I thought if I could build something big, something secure for us, you would understand. That you'd appreciate it. How can I appreciate something that feels so empty? She shot back, feeling the sting of betrayal deep in her chest. I'm proud of your achievements, Mark, but that is not enough. I need you to be here. Present. Loving. You made me feel like a shadow in our own life, a trophy wife left to admire your success from a distance. She saw his shoulders slump under the realization of the truth in her words. Had he really let her down that much? It pained her more than any storm ever could. Mark stepped closer, the desperation in his gaze igniting a flicker of hope in her heart. I want to change, to be better for both of us. I know I messed up, but please. Just give me a chance to make things right. A loud clap of thunder rumbled above their heads, but it only added to the gravity of their moment. Was this the moment they would find their way back to one another? She could feel the warmth of his longing radiating toward her, almost like a lifeline thrown into turbulent waters. Yet, a question gnawed at her: was she willing to brave the uncertain tide of reparation? She had spent too long feeling small and second best. Mark's journey back would have to start with actions, not just words. Torn between the love she once held for him and the new strength she was beginning to discover within herself, Sarah's silence spoke volumes. The air was heavy with the weight of their past, and she knew decisions had to be made. What do I do now? She thought, searching his eyes for answers, knowing that both their futures hung in the balance. Tell me what you need, Sarah. I will fight for us, he insisted, stepping forward, determination in his voice. Yet, deep down, a voice whispered, but what if fighting means letting go? Sarah's heart raced as the enormity of the crossroads before her engulfed her thoughts. Did she dare to dream of a united family again, or was it time to embrace the strength of her independence once and for all? As lightning flashed again, illuminating their faces in stark relief, Sarah felt the pulse of possibility in the air. She could choose to forgive, to love again, but there would be no going back to how things were. No matter what happened next, she needed to stand in her truth. With the rain now abating, she took a deep breath, feeling the crisp air fill her lungs with newfound resolve. What decision would she make? And would it lead them back to each other, or was it time to forge a different path entirely? The thunder rumbled low in the distance as Sarah looked back at Mark, her future stretching out before her like an unwritten canvas. The moment of truth was coming, and it loomed large, ready for her to fill it with hope or heartbreak. The silence stretched between them, thick and charged. Sarah's heart raced as she took in Mark's earnest expression. The man she had loved, the man she had envisioned building a family with, seemed to dissolve in the rain-soaked air. She could almost hear her heart beat louder than the distant thunder. Taking a step back, she tried to shake off the vulnerability that clung to her. You think it's that simple? She directed her anger toward the ground, frustrated at her own feelings. Words don't magically fix everything. I know, he replied, his voice low but steady. But I'm willing to work hard at it. I've been blind, and I can't let you slip away because of my failures. Work hard? Where were you when I needed you? Her voice broke slightly, revealing old wounds that still ached. Memories flickered in her mind: a birthday spent alone, holidays where Mark's absence felt like a gaping hole. Each thought sharpened the overwhelming weight of his betrayal. I was chasing a dream, Mark said, his tone filled with regret. I thought I could take care of us by making something out of nothing. I never wanted to leave you alone. Then why did you? The question hung there, dangerous and alive, like the storm still simmering in the clouds. He hesitated, searching for an answer that felt worthy of her pain. I thought success would make you proud. And some part of me, I don't know, hoped it would fill the void between us. Drowning yourself in work doesn't fill a void, Mark. It only expands it. The truth felt like a jagged rock in her throat. As painful as it was, she knew it had to be said. A long pause settled between them, the kind where both felt the weight of unexpressed thoughts. Finally, Mark took another tentative step forward. What if I showed you that I could be here? I want to rebuild that connection, brick by brick. But I can't do it alone. Sarah inhaled deeply, feeling her lungs expand with the heavy air. Could she really allow herself to believe his promises? She envisioned a life built on trust and companionship, but first, she had to acknowledge her own needs. What I need, she said slowly, is to feel valued, not just as a wife, but as an equal partner. I need to know you're in this together with me. Mark's face lit up with possibility. I can be that for you. I will be that for you. Just give me the chance to prove it. The rain finally began to fade, and with it, the tightness in Sarah's chest eased. Maybe there was space for her to forgive if Mark truly meant what he said. But doubts loomed large in her mind. Would this transformation last? Mark had promised her the world before, only to pull it away. She studied his face, the sincerity etching its way across his features. It's going to take time, she warned, feeling a strange flicker of hope managing to spark within. I know. However long it takes, he vowed, his eyes piercing back into hers. A moment of silence hung between them again, but this time it felt lighter, infused with tentative hope. Yet, the world around them was still chaotic. The wind whispered through the trees, reminding her that things could easily turn stormy again. Sarah had a lot to think about, and the gravity of their situation lay heavily in the balances. Then, as if to shake up their fragile truce, the sky darkened once more, and far-off thunder rumbled ominously. It sent a fresh wave of anxiety rippling through Sarah. She looked up at the clouds, feeling the tension coil inside her. Can we really navigate this storm? She considered, insecurity flirting at the edges of her resolve. As the first drops of rain began to fall again, Sarah turned to Mark, ready to ask the question that gnawed at her soul. Would they make it through together, or would the pressures of their past tear them apart once more? The raindrops fell softly at first, creating tiny splashes on the ground, but soon they grew heavier, mirroring the turmoil in Sarah's heart. The delicate balance of hope and fear threatened to topple over as she turned back to Mark. His face was a mixture of anxiety and determination, a reflection of the intensity swirling within her. Do you really mean it? She asked, her voice trembling slightly. Can you really be the partner I need? Sarah, he said, stepping closer, allowing the rain to soak him through. I want to just be a better husband. I'll be your teammate. I promise I'll show up, whether it's a small thing or a huge one. I'm committed to changing. I can't lose you again. Her heart fluttered as she searched his eyes. Could he really do this? Could they turn this ship around together? Even as hope sparked, whispers of doubt curled at the edges of her mind. Maybe I've lost my faith in you, she confessed softly, the words barely escaping her lips. Mark flinched, but his resolve didn't waver. I get it. I understand why you feel that way. I have a lot to prove. But I want to be worth that faith. Just give me a chance, please. The rain intensified, and the world around them faded into a blur. It was just the two of them, heartbeats, breaths, and the sound of rain beating against their skin. She felt a surge of emotion, pressing against her chest. What if I try? She said, her voice barely above a whisper. What if I let you back in? Then we move forward. Together, he replied, the sincerity clear in his tone. But would that be enough? She couldn't ignore years of hurt and disappointment. In that moment, she saw a flicker of the man she had fallen in love with long ago, the one who could make her laugh, who had dreams of family and togetherness. But when the storm around them erupted, so did her fears. Would their efforts be washed away like footprints in the rain? As wave after wave of doubt crashed over her, she felt shaky but at the same time defiant. "Okay," she finally said, voice steadying. "I'm willing to try, but it's going to take real effort. It means being vulnerable and trusting you, even when it feels impossible." Mark opened his arms, a gesture that felt both inviting and raw. "Then let us be vulnerable together. No more walls," he promised, his voice laced with urgency. The rain picked up, drenching them both, but Sarah stepped forward, allowing Mark to pull her into his embrace. She felt the heat of his body, his arms wrapping around her as he held her tight. It was a timid beginning, but it was a step, nonetheless. "I'm scared, Mark," she admitted, leaning into him, the weight of her fears blending with the cold rain. "But I want to believe you. I'll do everything to show you the truth in my words," he replied, his breath warm against her ear. "You'll never doubt me again." As they stood there amidst the downpour, Sarah felt a warmth spread through her, the first light of hope breaking through the storm clouds. Could this be the start of their healing? But the storm was still raging, a reminder that all was not yet well. She pulled back slightly to look into his eyes. What if things get hard again? What then? Mark's expression turned serious. "This time, we'll face it together. I promise." And just like that, they shared a fragile moment of connection, pulled closer by the tempest around them. Yet, as lightning flickered in the distance and thunder rolled ominously overhead, Sarah's heart raced with the uncertainty of what lay ahead. In that haunting moment, as the rain poured down, the question that lingered was unsettling and deep: would they truly weather the storm together, or was this just the eye of a much larger hurricane waiting to strike? Mark held her as the rain continued to fall, soaking them, but in that moment, beneath the dripping sky, something shifted. Sarah felt the weight of her doubt blend with a flicker of something new and unexpected strength. Her heart raced, not with fear, but with a desire to reclaim her life and love. She whispered, "I want to believe you, Mark," but his gaze held her steady, unwavering. "I know it's a lot to ask. But we both deserve a chance to heal and build something better. Can we start fresh?" Sarah looked away, her eyes tracing the path of a raindrop as it wound its way down Mark's cheek. Memories of laughter and dreams they once shared flickered in her mind, overshadowed by the pain that had clouded those moments. The scars of the past felt fresh, yet the warmth of his embrace melted away some of the ice that had built within her. "I want to trust in us," she admitted, her voice softer now, but the tremor still echoed. "But I need to know you mean it this time." "I do," he promised, the sincerity in his eyes palpable. "Every day, I'll show you how much you mean to me. Let us build a path forward, together." With the rain drumming a steady beat around them, Sarah felt a shift in the air. It was as if the storm itself was erasing old wounds, paving the way for something new. She took a deep breath as she pulled back to look at his face illuminated by the occasional flash of lightning. "Okay," she said, the decision crystallizing within her. "Let us take this step by step. But if I'm being honest, I still feel broken." Mark frowned slightly, but tightened his grip on her shoulders. "Then we'll take it slow. There's no rush. It's just us against the world right now." The wind howled, lifting the hair off her face, but she felt his reassurance grounding her. For the first time in a long time, she felt the flicker of hope like a soft glow, nudging away shadows that had long lingered. They began to leave the protection of the small overhang where they stood, stepping cautiously into the deluge. The rain drummed against their bodies, a cleansing rhythm, washing away doubt with every step they took away from the past. As they walked, she turned to him. "What if I get scared again? What if I pull back?" "I'll be right here," Mark replied, his voice unwavering. "You don't have to do this alone. We're partners, remember? I'll stand by you, even when the storms get rough. His words wrapped around her like a warm blanket. Maybe she had strength she didn't know she had. Maybe together they could spell out a new story, even amidst the chaos. But as they were jogging back towards the car, a sharp crack of thunder cut through the air, startling them. She froze for a moment, a pang of fear shooting through her. Would those summer storms of their past overshadow the chance for a new beginning? Mark noticed immediately, stopping to face her. Hey, look at me, he urged gently, taking her hands in his. We'll face whatever comes. You're stronger than you think. You've fought through so much already. You can handle this, Sarah. She could see the faith in his eyes. In that moment, something clicked. I want to believe you. As they continued through the rain, she allowed hope to fill the corners of her heart, revealing a path ahead that was only beginning to unfold. But even as the storm began to lessen, Sarah could feel a deeper storm brewing within her. Could she allow herself to be truly vulnerable again, to let the walls come down entirely? Because behind all this potential healing, doubt still loomed and a hidden truth about her own past was waiting to be revealed. What would she discover when she finally faced it head-on? The rain began to diminish, and the world around them transformed. The streets shimmered like glass, reflecting faint glimmers of streetlights as they overflowed with droplets. Each step felt lighter, almost electric, as the tension that had gripped Sarah's heart started to loosen its hold. But beneath that relief was a growing apprehension, like a cloud waiting to burst. Do you think we can really make this work? She asked softly, her voice barely rising above the last remnants of the storm. The uncertainty trembled in her tone, mingling with the scent of fresh earth that filled the air. Mark squeezed her hand tighter. I believe we can. But we have to be honest with each other. No more secrets. No more running. His sincerity was a balm against her worries, offering a flicker of warmth she wasn't sure she deserved. She nodded, but deep down, an unsettling truth stirred within her, held tightly behind a curtain of fear. Okay, no secrets, she echoed, but a knot formed in her stomach. How could she share everything when the darkest parts of her story felt too heavy to lift? They reached the car, its headlights slicing through the twilight that had settled in the aftermath of the rain. Sarah took a breath, trying to steady the storm inside her. She could feel the instinct to hide creeping back, yet Mark was waiting, watching her every move, ready for whatever came next. Let us talk later, he suggested as the engine roared to life, his eyes focused on the road ahead while still flicking sideways to gauge her mood. Somewhere quieter, somewhere we can really dive into this. Yeah, I'd like that, she replied, her heart pounding at the thought of sharing her fears. During the drive, silence wrapped around them like a comforting embrace, but it was fragile, a paradox of safety and hidden anxiety. Sarah's mind raced back to everything she hadn't said, the weight of her secrets lying heavily in the pit of her belly. She felt the rise and fall of her emotions, sadness mingling with hope, leaving her feeling unsteady. When they pulled into the driveway, the house loomed ahead like an uncharted territory. Memories grappling with her past seemed to flicker through the windows, distant echoes of laughter and warmth. But shadows draped over the smiles, reminders of the hurt that still loitered in the corners. Stepping inside, she was overwhelmed. The scent of old wood, mixed with Mark's cologne, took her back to a time when everything seemed simple and secure. But now it felt different, like standing at the edge of a cliff, not knowing if she would soar or fall. Want some tea? Mark asked, breaking her reverie as he headed toward the kitchen. Sure, she replied, her voice trailing off. Her heart raced at the thought of what might spill over their hearts during that small moment. As Mark prepared the tea, Sarah's heart pounded louder in her chest. She could hear him humming softly, a comforting melody that wove through the chilly air. But as she leaned against the doorframe, thoughts of what had scarred her replayed in her mind. The times she had been left alone to face her demons, and how painful it was to fight those battles without him by her side. "What if I can't be the person you want me to be?" she finally blurted, the words spilling out like the rain had moments before. "What if I just drag us down?" Mark turned, his expression shifting from surprise to determination. "Sarah, you can think like that. It's not about being perfect. It's about being together, face everything, the good and the difficult. You don't have to carry this alone anymore." The sincerity in his gaze pierced through the veil of doubt. She wanted to believe that. She did. "Okay," she nodded slowly, feeling each word lift the weight. "Together." But inside, the shadow of her truth flickered ominously, reminding her that some battles had to be fought. As the kettle whistled and Mark poured the steaming liquid, she felt a tide of emotion welling up inside her. Just as she opened her mouth to finally share her truth, there was a loud crash from the living room. They froze, the sound punctuating the air. What awaited them seemed far more dangerous than any storm outside, as if the past was breaking through the front door. "Mark," her voice cracked, dread seeping into her veins. "What was that?" The moment stretched painfully, the secrets ready to swirl back into the light, but she could already feel the ground shifting beneath them. Would she be ready to reveal everything? Would he be ready for what lay ahead? Mark's heart raced as he glanced at Sarah, whose face had drained of color. He could see the fear gripping her, a shadow hanging heavy in the air. "I don't know," he said, his voice firm despite the uncertainty prickling at the back of his mind. "Let us check it out." They moved carefully toward the living room, each step reminding them of the silence that had enveloped them not long before. Mark's protective instincts kicked in, a mixture of bravery and trepidation flooding his senses. Sarah stayed close, her fingers entwined tightly with his, anchoring them both as they pushed through the doorway. The living room looked as they had left it, yet something felt off. A lamp lay shattered on the floor, glass splinters glimmering like stars in the dim light. Mark's gaze darted around the room, searching for the source of the disturbance. "Did you see anyone?" he asked, keeping his voice low, a whisper against the fear pulling in the room. Sarah shook her head, eyes wide, fixated on the mess. "No, but I felt something, Mark. Like we're not alone." The thoughts echoed in her mind like thunder rolling in the distance. The darkness wasn't just looming from outside, it was creeping into their moment. As she stepped forward, a faint sound broke through the stillness, soft footsteps, then a muffled whisper. "Mark." Sarah's grip tightened even more, and he turned to her, uncertainty flashing in her eyes. This wasn't just about her secrets anymore, something tangible was intruding on their fragile sanctuary. "Stay here," he instructed, though Sarah didn't move, her feet rooted to the floor. Gathering his courage, he walked to the staircase leading to the second floor. It creaked under his weight, the sound echoing through the empty house. At the top, he paused, his heart pounding against his ribs, debating whether to believe in the madness forming in his head. The whispers turned into faint giggles, slicing through the tension like a knife. What is going on? He thought, bewildered. Were they truly alone? Or was an unwelcome visitor prowling in the shadows? He caught a glimpse of movement from the corner of his eye. An open door down the hall, slightly ajar. Was it the wind, or had he and Sarah left it open? Steeling himself, he took a deep breath and approached the door. Just as he reached for the handle, he heard an echo of laughter. It swelled, vibrant and haunting, cutting through the fear like glass. It reminded him of a happier time when shadows held no threat. But now, those reassurances felt frayed and distant. "Mark." Sarah called from behind him, her urgency filling the air with warmth and terror at the same time. He turned, her voice laced with panic. "Let us just go back," she urged, the edge in her voice snapping the moment's tension. But curiosity surged inside him, battling the instinct to protect her first. I just need to see. As he pushed the door fully open, the room seemed to pulse, alive with energy. Laughing shadows scattered across the walls, as if a moment from their past had come flooding back, uninvited. Surprise! A chorus of familiar voices called out. He was met by an unexpected sight: friends and family, gathered in the dark, balloons floating against the ceiling, a beautiful cake resting on the table. Every emotion crashed against him: disbelief, relief, anger. You scared us half to death, he shouted, half laughing, half crying. Sarah stepped forward, bewilderment fading into realization. You threw a surprise party. Their friends erupted in laughter, and for an instant, the weight of silence slipped away. But even as they celebrated, Sarah felt the grim shadows of her hidden truths lurking right behind. She had wanted to share her burdens, but how could she in the midst of this unexpected celebration? The joyous moment felt like a veil, a distraction that kept her from confronting the darkness that still lingered within her. As laughter filled the air, a feeling of disconnect washed over her. She needed to tell Mark everything, but now, with everyone there, would the moment ever come? In that instant, the door of her past remained ajar, and she could sense the storm brewing behind it. Questions hung in the air like unspoken words waiting to be unleashed. Could she face it all? Would tonight be a celebration or a confession? Sarah, Mark's voice brought her back. Everything okay? The weight of vulnerability rested heavy on her chest. I don't know, she whispered, caught in the push and pull of emotion. She could feel the shadows of truth threatening to overpower her. But before she could answer, a loud crash pierced the room, as another surprise awaited, this one far removed from the joy of celebrations. What was that? Mark's brow furrowed, the party atmosphere flickering like a candle in the wind. With the past threatening to break through, Sarah prepared to confront more than just her demons. Would she have the strength to reveal what was hidden inside? Would their relationship withstand the onslaught of truth awaiting them? Mark, we need to, she began, but the room exploded with chaos once more. And in that moment of uncertainty, Sarah knew one thing: her battle was just beginning, and she had to find her voice amidst the clamor. The room fell silent, the laughter diminishing as all eyes turned towards the doorway where the sound had come from. Mark's heart sank, and Sarah's grip on his hand tightened as they shared a sidelong glance filled with fear and concern. The cheerful atmosphere quickly morphed into a tight-lipped stillness. What just happened? One of their friends murmured, shifting nervously. Mark and Sarah moved closer together, their protective instincts flashing as they scanned the room for signs of panic. Stay here, he said again, more firmly this time, casting a glance toward the disheveled corner from where the crash had echoed. But Sarah wouldn't let go of his hand this time. No, we should go together. I can't just stand here, she insisted, her voice steady but laced with urgency. Fear coursed through her, but it took on a new shape, a spark of resolve igniting within the tempest of anxiety. He took a breath, recognizing her determination, and nodded. Okay, together. They approached the threshold of the room, stepping over the scattered remnants of their celebration. With each creak of the floorboard, a chill crept up Mark's spine. The noise seemed to come from the back of the house, near the kitchen. Together, they pushed open the kitchen door, revealing the chaos of spilled flour and a tipped-over table. The moonlight gleamed through the window, casting long shadows that danced menacingly on the walls. Mark's eyes landed on a figure hunched down by the sink, surrounded by broken dishes. Relief surged through him as he recognized it was only their clumsy neighbor, Joan, gathering herself after a tumble. Oh gosh! I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to ruin your party. Joan exclaimed, but the genuine fear in her eyes felt perhaps more unsettling than the mess itself. Mark laughed lightly, the tension easing just a bit. You gave us a scare, Joan. Sarah stepped forward, extending a hand to the woman. Here, let us help you. Are you okay? As she laid her hand on Joan's shoulder, Sarah felt a strange tightening in her chest, a mingled sense of empathy and the breath of her unconfessed truth swirling just beneath the surface. Just clumsy me, Joan chuckled weakly, brushing off her outfit. I saw the lights and wanted to surprise you guys, but I'm afraid I made a bit of a disaster. Mark glanced at Sarah, who seemed lost in thought, her eyes drifting away. The chaos of the moment had momentarily distracted them, but the weight of her own revelation still felt heavy between them. Yeah, well, parties and surprises often meet disaster, Mark replied, his smile fading into concern as the playful air of the celebration slipped away anew. Can we help clean this up? Sarah offered, her voice surprisingly steadier than she felt inside. As they began to gather up the broken plates and excess flour, Mark caught a glimpse of Sarah, her face set with determination. For the first time that evening, it felt like she was putting aside the shadows that loomed over her heart, even if just for a moment. Thank you, Joan said with a soft sigh, her gratitude palpable. You guys have always been there for everyone. Every time I've needed help, you've stepped up. Mark shot a gaze at Sarah, a question lingering unasked in the air between them. Was this the moment she would let her truth spill out? Wouldn't this be the time to confront her fears, to reveal what had been hidden? As the kitchen filled with that light-hearted banter so characteristic of their friendship, Sarah felt the knot in her stomach tighten. Maybe this wasn't the right moment after all. But if not now, then when? Suddenly, Mark turns to her, eyes glinting with a question that seemed to peel back the layers of the evening. Sarah, you sure everything is okay? The light-heartedness of an ordinary night hung fragile between them. I think we need to talk later about everything, she finally managed to murmur, her voice barely louder than a whisper, yet edged with a resolve that felt both freeing and petrifying. But before Mark could respond, the power flickered above them, plunging the room into darkness. Gas replaced laughter, and once again, fear edged back into their sanctuary. Mark! Sarah exclaimed, the darkness unlike anything they'd experienced before, wrapping around them like a heavy cloak. Let us get back to the living room, he urged, but then froze, sensing something in the darkness. Do you hear that? Sarah asked, her voice trembling, fear lacing her tone. As the noise crept closer, echoing off the walls of their home, a blend of laughter and whispers morphing into something darker, the weight of impending truth loomed ever larger. What was that? Mark swallowed hard, fearing the answer. And in that moment, Sarah knew she couldn't hide anymore. The storm was escalating, threatening to break them apart or force them to grow. Would she find the strength to reveal everything, or would the secrets consume her? The shadows of truth were starting to stir, and it was only a matter of time before they would have to face whatever darkness awaited them. The darkness enveloped them, thick and suffocating. Sarah felt her heart thumping in her chest as the whispers grew louder, swirling around her like a tornado of unease. Mark, what is happening? She urged, panic creeping into her voice. Stay close, he instructed, his tone steadier than she felt, reaching for her hand. The warmth of his grip was a lifeline in the uncertainty that surrounded them. They stepped backward, inching towards the faint slivers of light spilling from the living room. As they crossed the threshold, the room pulsed with a bizarre energy. The flickering of candles cast dancing shadows on the walls, creating an unsettling waltz of light and dark. Mark glanced around, their friends were hushed, wide-eyed, frozen in hesitation at the sudden turn of events. Is everyone okay? Mark asked, trying to gauge the atmosphere. Their friends exchanged looks of confusion and fear but remained silent. It was a moment that seemed to stretch on forever, each person caught in the grip of their own anxiety. But Sarah's eyes drifted away from the crowd, drawn to the shadows in the corner. The remnants of the broken plates lay under the table, shards of porcelain glinting like little stars cast aside in some cosmic disaster. It wasn't just the mess that troubled her, it was the realization that she felt just as fragmented. Sarah. Mark turned to her, concern etched on his face. You look pale. Are you sure you're okay? His words poked at the tender truths she'd been holding back. She wanted to scream, to run away, but her reality anchored her in place. There is something I need to tell you, she whispered urgently, taking a small step towards him. Before she could continue, the lights flickered back to life, and a collective sigh filled the room. Just like that, the heaviness lifted slightly, but the weight of what she was about to say remained. Let us talk outside, away from everyone, Mark suggested, misunderstanding her urgency but unsure of how to help. The offer stirred something in Sarah, a rush of clarity cutting through her hesitation. As they stepped outside onto the porch, the night's chill grazed over her skin while fireflies flickered around them, indifferent to the turmoil brewing within. What is it, Sarah? Mark asked, his gaze focused intently on her, as if his eyes were probing her very soul. She gulped, drawing in a deep breath. The moment stretched, as time seemed to bend around them. I've been keeping something from you, she began, and the words felt like they were pulling from the very pit of her being, each syllable a weight she had carried alone for too long. I'm pregnant. The world around them fell silent. Mark's expression shifted from concern to shock, and then something soft began to blossom in his eyes. What really? He ran a hand through his hair, trying to process the revelation. Yeah, I didn't know how to tell you, Sarah rushed on, heart pounding as she fought off the wave of vulnerability washing over her. I didn't want to burden you with it. I thought you might burden. Sarah. This is incredible. She met his gaze, a mixture of fear and hope swirling through her. But what if you don't want this? What if you don't want me? Mark stepped closer, the distance between them shrinking until she felt the warmth of his body. I want you. I want this. I didn't know, but I can't believe we're going to have a child. Tears pooled in her eyes, the impending relief washing over her. Little did she know that the storm inside was only just beginning to brew, and the challenges ahead were far from over. Before she could express her joy, an eerie sound echoed from the darkness beyond the porch, a disembodied, echoing laughter that stirred a primal fear deep within her. It resounded with an otherworldly quality, an omen that signaled more than just their personal challenges were at stake. What was that? Mark asked, the light of happiness stolen from his eyes, replaced by a pulse of dread. Sarah felt the world tilt around her, caught between the joy of newfound hope and the lurking shadows of unseen threats. The night felt heavy again, and as fear wrapped around them, she realized that both love and truth had brought them here, but would they keep them safe from the darkness closing in? As the laughter faded into the night, Sarah knew they had only just begun to confront the shadows that awaited them. The darkness echoed with an unsettling silence, as Sarah and Mark stood on the porch, pulse racing from the revelation and the ominous laughter lingering in the air. The weight of Sarah's news rumbled alongside the anxiety creeping back into their hearts. Sarah, what if this is bigger than us? Mark asked, his voice laced with concern. He stepped closer, instinctively shielding her. Sarah held his gaze steadily, her heart beating like war drums. No matter what is out there, we can't let it drown our truth. Mark nodded, the flickering fireflies a testament to the vitality of their hope. You're right. We are stronger together. As if in response, the darkness pressed in with a shiver, and the laughter echoed yet again. It morphed into something contagious, uncertainty swirling around them, pushing against the warmth of connection they had just ignited. Let's not let fear win this time, she said, her voice steadier. We've made it through storms before. He stepped forward, determination igniting in his eyes. "Together we face anything, I promise." They made their way back inside, where the party continued as an odd contrast to the chaos unsettled in the outside world. Friends were gathered, laughter and chatter returned to life, a slice of normalcy. But Sarah's heart felt a tender edge, caught between celebration and vulnerability. "Mark." Joan leaned over an empty plate, catching his eye. "Come join us, we need the birthday boy's favorite." Confusion flickered through Mark's features, but he offered a smile, holding onto Sarah's hand tightly. "Coming." As they returned to the living room, Sarah realized the room was filled not just with friends, but with the warmth of community, a firm reminder that it was more than just the two of them battling life's storms. She felt the energy pulse through her, fueling the boldness of her next step. "Everyone," she called, capturing the room's attention. It was time. "Mark and I have something to share." The air thickened, the joyful chatter quieting down. With everyone watching, as familiar faces leaned in, she felt the fear germinating in her heart morphing into a steady resolve. "I'm pregnant," she announced, her voice steady, echoing with vulnerability and strength. Gasps and exclamations bubbled from the room, and Mark's face lit up, igniting a rush of warmth deep within her. "Oh my gosh! Congratulations!" Joan shouted, beaming as others joined in, joyful chaos erupting around them. The life within her suddenly felt safer, welcomed, wrapped within love that cascaded around them. Amidst the joy, Sarah caught Mark's gaze, and he looked at her with pride and awe. "This is our moment," he said softly, the weight of his commitment shining through. But even as laughter erupted and congratulations swept through the room, Sarah felt a flicker of that earlier darkness lingering in the corners of her mind. "There is something else," she began, voice carrying a serious tone, silencing the jubilant cheers. Cautiously, everyone shifted in their seats, attention drawn back to her as the party atmosphere tumbled back into that fragile silence they had just escaped. "I need to tell Mark something," she hesitated, a shadow near the threshold of her lips, but Mark stepped in, holding her hand, anchoring her to the present. "It's okay, love. I'm here," he reassured. "I've kept a lot hidden from us, hiding my fears, cleaning every crack and shadow in the name of perfection." The room felt dizzying, weightless under the hidden stresses she had been carrying. "But now, I realize I wasn't protecting us. I was afraid," she said, feeling the tears spill out, mixing with the lingering laughter in the air. "You don't have to hide anymore," Mark said firmly, stepping closer, his eyes softening. And it all came pouring out: the loneliness of their marriage, the fear of inadequacy, the weight of expectations she had placed on herself. With each confession, the room dissolved into a cocoon of understanding. As lightness filled her heart, laughter turned into a chorus of support, friends embracing them, the reality of love enveloping all. Joan reached out, her eyes shimmering with empathy. "We are here for you, Sarah. Always." Revelation seeped through the crowd, touching each soul, binding them together with the truth. As the noise of the party resumed, laughter and warmth dancing against the backdrop of nearby shadows, Mark embraced Sarah tightly, holding her as if promising to weather whatever life threw their way. "Let us embrace this together," he murmured against her hair, his warmth radiating through her body. And in that moment, she knew they had transformed. No longer isolated by ambition or misunderstandings, they were intertwined with the truth of community, love, and hopeful adventure ahead. Storms may still come, but they would not be alone again. As the evening light glowed with laughter, Sarah realized they were ready to face whatever darkness lay ahead, ready to embrace the complexity of life together. And on that note of renewed courage, Sarah held on to her truth, knowing the past chapters had led them here, a bond stronger than any challenge. Now was their moment. They were set to embrace tomorrow, armed with love and conviction, ready to nurture their future together. Don't wait not even one more second. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and support the journey. Comment your reactions and feelings about this inspiring ending. And share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. You need to show your support, truly.